Welcome back, folks, to another skill guide. I'm Frizz, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most important skills in all of Pathfinder 2e, the medicine skill. Medicine is used for exactly what you would expect, patching people up and making sure that their insides stay inside. It's a wisdom-based skill, and generally speaking, you really want at least one person in the party to have medicine and probably be good at it, as it really helps get the party patched up between fights. In case you didn't know, Pathfinder 2e kind of assumes that everyone is going to be at about full health for every single encounter, and if you aren't at about full health, you're going to have a really bad time, so having someone who can do it without relying on focus spells is really great. Grab something to stay hydrated, and let's just jump right into it. Alright, so the first normal use of medicine is also the only thing that you can use with medicine if you're not trained in it, and that is to perform basic first aid. You need to have healer's tools, and it takes 2 actions, and then you can help out someone who is bleeding or dying. If you are trying to stabilize someone, so getting rid of the dying condition, then you make a medicine check against a DC of 5 plus their recovery roll DC. For most characters, this means that this will be against a DC of 15 plus their dying value, but there are some feats and abilities that you can get, like toughness, that reduce this DC a bit, so you'll have to figure it out on the fly a bit. If you're trying to stop persistent bleed damage though, then your medicine check is made against the DC of whatever caused the bleed in the first place. If you succeed in stabilizing someone, then they lose their dying condition, but remain unconscious. And if you succeed at trying to stop someone from bleeding, then they get a flat check to stop that persistent damage. If you critically fail though, then you do make things way worse. If you're trying to stabilize someone, then their dying condition increases by 1, and if you're trying to stop them from bleeding, then they take the normal amount of damage that they would take from the bleed, but they don't get a flat check at all, so you basically just trigger the persistent damage without giving them a chance to get rid of it. Overall, it's a pretty simple and straightforward use of a skill, though a quick word of warning from me. This is a personal anecdote, so take it with a grain of salt, but I mean, it happened, so. While this doesn't require that you're trained, it is pretty important to be trained if you want to be able to succeed. Now, this is coming from someone who has had a character die because someone critically failed on trying to stabilize a character. Now, that was due to rolling a 1 after spending a hero point, but still, just keep it in mind that if you're trying to stop someone from bleeding and you're level 15 and you're untrained in medicine, you're probably going to critically fail that roll. So early levels it's fine to make something untrained, but at high levels it's going to be very risky. The next use for medicine is treating disease, and it takes a rather long time to do. While you have healer's tools, you take 8 hours and try and treat the symptoms of a target's disease. Once you make your medicine check, which is against the disease's save DC, you are trying to help them, and you cannot do this again until they make their save, so you can't just keep on trying until you get a success. If you critically succeed on the roll, then you give the creature a +4 circumstance bonus on their next save against the disease. If you just get a normal success, then they get a +2 bonus instead. If you critically fail though, then you give them a -2 circumstance penalty, which is of course not good. Generally, treating a disease takes up an entire day, so you're not going to be able to do all that much else, but it depends on how lenient your GM is on whether or not the target actually needs to get bed rest to be able to get the benefits of this. The treat poison action is very similar to treat disease, but only takes 1 action instead of a full 8 hours. If you critically succeed on the roll, which is generally done to someone who's adjacent to you who is poisoned, you give a +4 circumstance bonus on their next save against a poison. A normal success gives a +2 bonus, and a critical failing gives a -2 circumstance penalty. Really, it's the exact same thing as treat disease, but it only takes 1 action, and both can really help keep other party members alive. And you can also use this on yourself also, so don't forget about that. You are going to be a lot more resilient to poisons and diseases if you're good at medicine. Now that we have treating poison and disease out of the way, we can finally get to probably the most common use for medicine in the entire system: treat wounds. You take 10 minutes whenever you treat wounds, and you try to help out someone who has been, gored horribly, as that is a standard danger in adventuring, and afterwards you cannot treat them for another 15 minutes, so you can treat them once an hour. Normally this check is made against a DC of 15, though as your proficiency increases, you can try and hit higher DCs to increase your healing. If you're an expert, you can try for a DC 20 to increase the healing by 10. If you're a master in medicine, you can try and aim for a DC 30 to increase the healing by 30, and if you're a legendary, you can attempt a DC 40 to heal for an additional 50 hit points. Also, after you succeed on the check, you can decide to continue treating a target for the rest of the hour. This will double how much they get healed and is situationally pretty useful. If you get a normal success against whatever DC you chose, you heal 2d8 hit points and you remove the target's wounded condition, and then you apply the amount of healing due to whatever DC you were targeting. If you critically succeed on the roll, then you roll 4d8 instead of 2d8. So it's effectively 2d8 more healing. If you critically fail though, then you do deal 1d8 slashing damage to your target, though thankfully this is not impacted by the DC that you go for. Treat wounds is one of the simplest ways to heal up the party out of combat, and with just a bit of skill feat investment, this can get incredibly good and way better than it already is. Speaking of feats though, let's talk about battle medicine. Once you take the battle medicine feat, and while you have healer's tools on you, for single action you can use treat wounds on someone in a single action rather than taking a whole 10 minutes. Of course, as you level up and you get higher and higher proficiency in medicine, you can aim for those higher DCs to heal even more. This is an incredible ability to heal people up in combat, though do keep in mind that once you use this on someone, they're immune to your battle medicine for a day, meaning that once you use it on them, you unfortunately can't heal them in the middle of combat until the day ends. But it doesn't mean that someone else can use battle medicine on them. So if the entire party is trained in medicine and takes battle medicine, you have a lot of healing that you can toss around, but that is a bit unlikely. Just remember that you can heal a huge amount with this, and there are some other feats and abilities from different classes that allow you to heal people a lot more frequently with battle medicine. In particular, check out the medic archetype and the investigator that gets better at medicine. Speaking of investigator sort of stuff, the Forensic Acumen feat is one of those few medicine feats that doesn't actually improve your ability to heal people, it is rather about cutting people up for science. Due to your understanding of how bodies generally function, if you take time to thoroughly study a body, generally this will be someone who is dead and you're investigating a corpse, you take half the normal amount of time to do it, and if you succeed on your medicine check to try and identify whatever happened to them, you get a +2 circumstance bonus on further recall knowledge checks about anything that you found. Just throwing an example out here, you could get a bonus on a crafting check that you make to identify a poison that killed someone, or you could try and identify a creature that can make those types of wounds. As your proficiency increases to Master and Legendary, this bonus increases by 1, up to a maximum of a +4 circumstance bonus once you are Legendary. If you're often investigating bodies, or just generally doing investigating and, really making sure that you're getting down into the nitty-gritty of things, this is amazing and can really help out figure out a mystery. If your party is a more of run and gun, kick down the door, who cares about investigating, this isn't as good, but generally, if you ask to look at a body, which is bound to happen at some point, then this is great. The inoculation feat is for doctors who really want to make sure that their patients won't get sick again once they get exposed to a sickness. Once you take it, you obviously have a lot of experience treating plagues and can give protection to the people that you treat. Once you successfully use the treat a disease action on someone and the patient fully recovers from the disease, meaning that it's completely gone, they get a +2 circumstance bonus against that specific disease for a week. This is honestly a pretty situational feat, but if you're in a campaign where diseases are super common, this could be generally useful, but it does rely on that specific disease coming up frequently. The risky surgery feat is really, really hilarious, and it's actually pretty great, though it does get a lot less useful and actually a lot less risky as you level up. Whenever you treat wounds, you can choose to deal 1d8 slashing damage to the target before you heal them. If you do this, then you get a +2 circumstance bonus on your medicine check, and if you get a success, then that becomes a critical success. At low levels, the 1d8 damage can be pretty scary, but the bonuses that you get are fantastic, and as you level up, that 1d8 slashing damage becomes a lot less impactful once people have like 200 hit points. A bonus on the roll increases your chance of succeeding, and you're basically increasing the healing by 2d8 if you manage to succeed, because that's how much critically succeeding adds. As you level up though, the 2d8 additional healing doesn't matter nearly as much, but the big bonus that will always be useful is the bonus on the roll, as that will really help you hit the insane DCs that you have to start hitting as you level up. Continual recovery is one of the best medicine feats in the entire game, and honestly, I think that it is one of the best skill feats in the entire game. Normally, you can only heal someone once an hour, but with continual recovery, a target only becomes temporarily immune for 10 minutes, and it takes 10 minutes to use treat wounds, meaning that you can constantly treat wounds on someone until they are fully healed. This makes healing up fully out of combat so much more effective, and allows you to do it in a much more reasonable time frame. You don't have to wait 3 hours to heal someone 3 times, just 30 minutes. This makes it so much easier to use, and is an amazing skill feat. The robust recovery feat makes you way better at dealing with poisons and diseases. By using a bunch of folk medicine and extensive practice, whenever you use the treat disease or poison action on a particular target, or it's used on you, you increase the circumstance bonus on a success from a +2 to a +4. This effectively makes any success into a critical success. Also, if the target gets a success on their roll, they get a critical success on their save. That basically makes them heal so much faster from poisons and diseases. If you're running into a lot of poisons and diseases in a campaign, like if it's, part of the theme or just a common element, then this is insanely good. Although otherwise it is a little bit specific, because you might be running into these like 1 in 5 fights or even less. Along with continual recovery, Word Medic is one of the best medicine feats in the entire game, and like I said with continual recovery, it's probably one of the most widely useful skill feats in the entire game. Normally, you can only use treat disease or treat wounds on a single person at a time, but with Word Medic, you've had some sort of previous experience for caring for multiple people, so now you can use that experience to help multiple people at the same time. Whenever you take it, you can now treat up to 2 people at once with both treat wounds and treat disease, but once you become a master, then you can treat 4 people at once. That is probably going to include the entire party, or at least everyone who needs to get healed, but in case you need to heal more people, when it's your legendary medicine, you can treat up to 8. This makes it so much better, and if you combine this with continual recovery, then you can treat the entire party and heal their wounds all in one 10-minute period, and then you can just do it again the next 10-minute period. This makes healing up outside of combat so much easier. Medicine only has one level 7 feat that requires being a master in the skill, and that is Advanced First Aid. Advanced First Aid allows for you to use the Administer First Aid action to heal more effects than normal. Rather than just stabilizing someone or stopping them from bleeding, you can try and reduce an ally's frightened condition or their sickened condition by 2 if you succeed against the normal DC for that effect, or you can just get rid of it entirely no matter what the value is on a critical success. This is a pretty nice ability to have, though do keep in mind that both those conditions have the ability to go in their own naturally, so if you just give it a bit of time and maybe some dice rolls per second, it'll go away on its own normally, but sometimes you simply don't have the time to wait. Once you are legendary in medicine, you can take the legendary medic feat and really start to just break what is and isn't possible with medicine. Once per day per person, you can spend an hour treating someone, and you can try and then attempt a medicine check. You can then try to just straight up remove a disease, or the blinded, deafened, doomed, or drained condition, and then you make your medicine check against the DC of whatever effect caused that disease or condition in the first place. If it is coming from an artifact, something above 20th level, or just something similarly insane, you increase that DC by 10, which is going to make it very hard to pull off if it's above level 20 and you're level 15, because that's already going to be a hard DC, and then increasing it by 10 is just not going to make it very achievable, but hey, how often are you trying to remove a disease that's caused by an artifact anyway? The ability to just straight up remove a disease or condition from someone is incredibly nice, and gives you a bunch of options and a lot of insurance against, normal diseases and all that. You can just say, no, they don't have the disease anymore. I used a scalpel and I cut out all the bacteria from their cuts. Just crazy stuff like that is now possible because you're level 15, you're basically a superhero. Overall, I love how medicine was implemented into Pathfinder 2e. In a lot of TTRPG systems, non-magical healing is pretty much ignored entirely and weak because it's so much cooler to cast magic and have it heal than to just, do it the old-fashioned way. So have it be pretty easily accessible and also have it be very good is a great change of pace. It feels great to have a good dedicated medic in the party, and it'll help out get everyone back in shape before getting into another fight. Also, this is just a side note, but I love the way that the medicine feats work, as they all, pretty much at least, scale automatically with your proficiency, meaning that as you level up, you can start doing more and more cool stuff, and having scaling feats feels a lot better than static ones, because picking something up at level 1 and then it never getting better is kind of boring, so having the ability to improve it as you level up makes your character feel a bit more dynamic. Also, if you want to see more cool medicine stuff, please check out the medic archetype. I have a video on it, and it's a bit of an old one, so excuse the quality a bit, but it is a very fun archetype, and it's a pretty short video, pretty short archetype, that gives you a lot of fun options that allows for you to push the bounds of the medicine skill even further. Thanks for watching and getting to the end of this. This has been a pretty challenging video to make, since I have a horrible cold right now, and I am incredibly congested as I'm speaking, so hopefully that hasn't impacted the video too much. I hope I don't sound too nasally or anything. I also have a new microphone, so ideally that does improve things a bit and helps offset the probably horrendous way that my voice is sounding. If you've got any ideas for how I might improve these videos, I'd love to hear them down below. I am really trying to improve these anytime that I can. Until I see you next, live a wonderful life.